couple movies that I need to pull out, but yeah, I'll be ready.
Pull out.
Pull it out. Pull it out. Flop it right on the table. What she wants to do with it.
Well, that's going to be the intro.
Stupid ass.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me, as always, is my good pal, Tony Arroyo. What's up, Tony?
Well, what's up, bud?
What's going on, brother? And
Man.
unfortunately, Frosty's not going to be with us today. Hopefully, he'll join us on the next episode, which we talked about it a little bit. Could potentially be the Event Horizon episode, maybe?
Yeah, man.
Possibly. So just a quick story on that. Basically, we got word that Mr. Daryl Ellisor, who is what did you say? He's the one that runs the show, or he's the main guy on Loot Bros podcast? I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't. He's one of the.
I'm definitely one of the hosts.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the hosts, and along with a bunch of other guys, including Mr. Frosty himself. So hopefully we'll be able to get Daryl on and talk about the Event Horizon. I think that would be a great show to do.
Absolutely, man.
I really love deep space, films, and I think that would be a fun one to do.
Yeah. There's such enclosure with deep space. Like talk about just being out in the middle of. It's almost like claustrophobic in a way, but it's so vast in a way too. So it's really really fascinating.
Oh yeah, and plus you're just so isolated that
Yep.
Just no help out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so this show is going to be based around horror icons, and I've got a laundry list of icons I want to talk about, and I believe you got 1 or 10 or 100.
1 or 10 or 100, yeah, somewhere in between.
So hopefully we can get going on that. First, let's open it up with what exactly have you picked up throughout the week, or what have you watched?
Well, funny enough, we're on a horror podcast, and I picked up a bunch of, well, I wouldn't say a bunch of non-horror stuff, but I did get one horror title in. Okay. I did get a bunch of more specifically Japanese movies, a lot of samurai movies. There was a good sale going on at one of our local establishments called Second and Charles, which I highly, if anybody's listening, familiar with that store, I highly recommend it. It's great picking up movies, and they got all kinds of stuff, man. They got records and games and just a whole bunch of pop culture stuff. But they were running a sale. You pick up 5, you get 5 on all used. So I ended up picking up about 5. I wouldn't say martial arts films. They're more just samurai, like straight samurai films. But ended up picking up 5 and then getting 5 for free. And then I grabbed a couple more. I went back and grabbed a couple more just because the prices were so good on them. So,
Nice.
Yeah, it's a laundry list of titles. And then went to Eric's Scratch and Spin, good old Scratch and Spin. And he had a couple of titles. I actually been on a Akira Kurosawa kick and grabbed one of his acclaimed films called Yojimbo, and went to Eric. Well, I picked up Yojimbo at Second and Charles, and then I picked up his follow-up film Sanjuro at Eric. So followed that up. That was pretty cool. And then I picked up the Samurai series, and all these are through Criterion, and those weren't directed by Kurosawa, but picked up the 3 of those between Second and Charles and Scratch and Spin, and then Seven Samurai I picked up at Eric's as well. That's another Kurosawa film. So I picked up a bunch of them. A lot of titles to go through, man. But I did pick up one horror film out of all of them, and it's called Onibaba. And
Onibaba.
yeah, Onibaba. It looks really fascinating. I'm really gonna sit back and dive into this weekend because I've been really wanting to check this out. It came out in 1964. It's a Japanese film.
Yes.
It's black and white, so it's pretty cool. Love me some black and white horror, and I haven't really seen a lot of black and white Japanese horror, so I'm kind of looking forward to this one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I picked up. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, dude, I got so many. If you want me to round off all the titles real quick, I'll try to, but it's a ton.
Oh yeah, dude, do it. I got 7 to go over, so
Okay, so I picked up Yojimbo, Sanjuro, Seven
mm-hmm.
Samurai, Samurai 1, 2, and 3. This isn't a Japanese movie, but I picked up Revenge of the Ninja just because I wanted to watch Revenge of the Ninja. 10 Tigers of Kwangtung. I don't know if I'm probably butchering that. Swords of Vengeance, Karate Bear Fighter, which looks absolutely batshit insane. Shogun's Ninja, Shogun's Shadow, Opium and the Kung Fu Master, the Magic Blade, Shaolin Intruders, and the Four Swords 4-disc edition, which has 4 different films on it. One being Vengeance is a Golden Blade, Have Sword Will Travel, The Water Margin, and The Wandering Swordsman. So yeah, that's my haul. Which
It's awesome.
yeah, some Shaw Brothers productions in there, so that's pretty cool too.
That's neat. Yeah. Well, it just goes to show that we've got a little kind of diversity, a little bit as far as what we watch. We don't just all watch horror, Like
Yeah,
Frosty, he wants to get into horror, but I think ultimately he's, mainly about kung fu and martial arts films and westerns. And I'm dipping my toes into spaghetti westerns a little bit. Obviously, I need to buy more, but I haven't yet.
same
And
here, man.
then, yeah, so it's just it all depends, preference.
Like I said, we're film fans, so we love it
Ultimately.
all. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well, have you watched anything throughout the week or no?
I did. I watched Yojimbo, which was fantastic, man. I loved it. It was so good. It actually, this funny story, uh, the Man with No Name, Fistful of Dollars, the trilogy and stuff like that. They actually took from Yojimbo, and Kurosawa actually took Sergio Leone to court, and they settled out of court on an undisclosed sum. So he actually took his premise of his movie and used it, and didn't really get permission to do that. So he actually
Hmm,
took him to court, which is pretty fascinating that happened. So yeah, because
it's pretty cool.
the storyline's very similar to the first one. So
Hmm,
it's actually funny. Yeah, little tidbit there. But I
that's
thought
pretty
that was
neat.
great. I'm like, because I was watching it, I was like, this story is so similar, and I was like, oh, okay. I looked it up. I was like, yep, makes sense now. But
It's awesome.
that one came out before, so
It's great.
yeah,
Good
that was a
stuff.
movie. Highly recommended.
I'll have to check it out. I do like a good actiony, kind of what would you say, martial arts or not so much martial arts, but samurai. I haven't watched too many samurai films, but definitely intrigued by it because I used to watch the martial arts all the time.
I did too, man. I had a cousin that was big into martial arts movies, and I watched a lot of stuff with him when I would go visit him, and that's real nostalgic for me too. So I want to kind of start picking them up here and there, and you know, start delving into that. So
Definitely,
revisiting that stuff,
definitely.
definitely. But yeah, that's the only one I saw this week so far. Been kind of a busy week, so
Right on.
Or
Yeah,
this
same
weekend.
here.
Got a couple.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and knock out some this weekend. I haven't had a chance to this week. This week kind of flew by pretty much for me. Um, I was kind of fortunate enough though. I put in vacation and I was able to get vacation for today, and then next thing you know, my boss was like, "Yeah, we're not working tomorrow." I was like, "Sweet, long weekend."
Yeah. Hell yeah. It's always a surprise.
Yeah, love it. All right. Yeah. So my pickups for the week. Actually, I got a horror pack that came in. Um, seems that it comes in around the anywhere between the 26th and 29th usually. So pretty excited about it. But um, the first one here is oh, and if you don't know what horror pack is, horror pack is a monthly subscription. I mean, you can do a Blu-ray package or DVD package, and I think it's like $270 a year or whatever if you do the 12-month package. And you get 4 Blu-rays a month or DVDs, whichever one you do, or do both. I don't know. I haven't done both because I kind of just wanted to try it out, but so far I seem to love it, man. Um, and I'm not sponsored by them, but that would be awesome. But anyways, so the first one is the Harpack exclusive, which is Witch's Brew, and
Oh,
I know nothing about it. I remember hearing stuff about it, but I just don't know anything about it. Do you?
yeah. I actually, I think I picked that up at a convention we went to one year. Just on a whim, just looking at the cover art's pretty cool. So I picked it up and grabbed, and I watched it when I got back to the house, and I really don't remember too much about it though. I remember the title though, and I remember that cover.
Well, the funny thing is Horror Pack. What they do is when they before they go to put stuff out, they'll give like little hints out on Facebook,
Hmm.
and you go to read them, and you're like, oh. So instantly, it was talking about like a brew that kills people, and I was like, that's street trash, you know.
Yeah,
Everyone was like putting street trash, and then next thing you know, it was Witch's Brew, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I was wrong.
that's a little
Um,
off.
but the other one is Insidious 3.
Hmm.
So I think last month I got Insidious 1. And then Saint Agatha,
Hmm.
which I know nothing about again.
Not,
Um, huh?
oh, and I was just saying I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, I don't know it. And then this one here is actually a 4K. So this is my first 4K,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. What a title.
Yeah, that's a good title.
My next one was actually a pickup today at Walmart. I picked up the Scream Factory Candyman
Oh, nice,
because
man.
I never upgraded that. So yeah, I've already flipped the cover art around and everything. And
Did
then,
you fortunate
huh?
enough to find one? Did you get fortunate enough to find one with the slipcover?
No,
No.
it's like
Okay.
those don't exist. So it sucks, but at least I got it on Blu-ray. So
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. The fact that you have it, yeah, absolutely. That you
yeah,
upgraded. I need to upgrade too, man. That DVD's very old.
I thought you had it on Blu-ray. You don't have it?
I don't.
Crazy. $10 at
Seems like
Walmart, dude.
yeah, it seems like I need to go back to Walmart and pick that up. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
And then this next one is Insidious: The Last Key. Um, I just picked that up because obviously I'm getting them, so I got to pick up number two somewhere. And then actually, my mother was at Dollar Tree, and she found this one, and it was the girl in the photograph. So
Mm,
for $1.
yeah, I think that's got Cal Penn is involved in that somehow. I
Yeah,
don't know if he starred in it or he
it,
produced it or something. His name's on the cover. So.
yeah, and I see him on the back of it, but it claims that that this is the last Wes Craven film, which it says that he was an executive producer.
Okay. I thought I heard something about that. I remember hearing about him producing it or starring in it both or something. I just remember his name being plastered on the cover, like of course they do to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's what I thought. But and then I also just got informed that I will be getting the sequel in the mail, so it has been ordered. So probably next time we talk about films that we picked up, that'll be here.
I'll be there.
The second Insidious. Sorry.
Well then yeah, man, then you have them all. I need to. I've only seen the first two. I've never seen the third one or that fourth one.
Yeah.
So I need to, yeah, because I really do enjoy the Insidious movies. One and two were great.
I watched the first one. I haven't seen any after that, but I like the premise behind it and everything. I thought the red guy, the demon, was kind of, a little, I guess you would say, a little cartoony like or whatever.
Yeah,
You know, but overall, the premise and the story and everything, it was quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need to upgrade. I have the first two on DVD, and I'm like a completionist, so the fact that I don't have the other two kind of bother me. So I need to be on the lookout for those, man. But the fact that I have them on DVD, I need to just upgrade them all, really. I mean,
Yeah.
no, excuse me. I do have part one on Blu-ray. I just don't have any others on Blu-ray.
Okay.
I upgraded that one, but I need to go ahead and complete that franchise, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It drives you crazy when you have a franchise that's not complete in your collection. That just drives you crazy.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're going through because, like I said, the horror pack they just sent. I just got 2 months ago. I think I got Exorcist 3, and I had never upgraded any of those, and now it's killing me because I'm like, I got to get the first and the second one on
Well,
Blu-ray now.
from what I hear, I think you can get the second one at a local spot. Like I don't know if it's Dollar General or something. Somebody started finding them at like Dollar General or Dollar Tree or something like that. I remember seeing that on a post or something. So, yeah,
That would be interesting.
yeah. I definitely check those out if you can, if you're around.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you ready to get into this discussion?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I am very ready.
All right, man. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
So, so horror icons. So what exactly does that mean to you, Tony?
Oh man, for my nostalgia, horror icons are, when I think of when I first got into horror films and started watching them at a young age, I remember distinctly, which is funny. I don't think I've ever told you this before, but one of the first films I remember watching when I was a wee lad was a little movie called The Toxic Avenger. So Toxie would be considered one of my first horror icons, even though, it's just kind of weird to think of Toxie being an icon or a, horror icon. But I distinctly remember when he got just doused in the nuclear waste that he started transforming, and that transformation scene in the bathroom was really like, it really just gravitated me into it. And I just got hooked on the movie. And that movie is it's very tongue in cheek and very comical, but there's some scenes in there when you're younger and you watch them, you gain more of an appreciation when you're older. But when you're younger, everything's kind of like you're really like, whoa, man, that's really creepy. Or that's really scary. Not that that was scary, but it just kind of dragged me in, and I was just like, yeah, I'm hooked. I'm ready to go. So, funny story, man. One of the first things I remember when I was younger was watching that. I think it was on some cable. I don't know if it was on Stars or something like that when we had like that package and stuff like that. We had cable. I remember seeing it on one of those channels or something, or maybe it was yeah, I think it was Stars or something like that. But yeah, I remember watching that. I was probably around, I don't know, I was probably around 6 or 7 years old, so I wasn't really young, but I remember that distinctly. I was like, this is so cool. I just got hooked into it. And then from there, you see, my icon is always going to be, considering when I grew up, I'm a Friday the 13th fanatic, and I make no apologies for it. And Jason's going to be my guy. He's always going to be my guy. I was always gravitated to the hockey mask and just his, with the later sequels, how indestructible he was. And, he's just a killing machine, and he would just go and just completely decimate everything that was in his path. So when I think about Jason, I think about the big four, when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about the slasher icons, I think of the big four. I think of Freddy, I think of Jason, I think of Michael, and I think of Leatherface. Believe it or not, those are the big four to me. When you think of horror,
Yeah,
those are the
definitely.
those are the faces that pop up. As a matter of fact, I have those faces on my window on my car. That's how much you know, that's how much that those four in particular mean to me. So, um, yeah. And then growing up and going to the local video stores in the early '90s, um, there was three icons, if you will, that I remember plastered on the windows. I remember the posters on the windows. I remember going into the, mom and pop store and looking up the box art and being like, I want to see these three. And those three were Candyman,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Giggles, and the dentist. And
Really?
actually there's four. Ice Cream Man was another one. So there's four. Not to say that those are like icons, but I remember distinctly being young and looking at the video store, just diving into, all of the horror section. And those four in particular popped out at me because they were very prevalent at that time because they had just come out not too long ago. So they were all early '90s um, movies that were being marketed heavily in those mom and pop video stores. So I remember those four in particular. But that just
Okay.
goes to show, the time frame in which I was going into this, when I started going into those mom and pop video stores and really, really getting sucked into that world,
Mm.
that that pretty much kicked me off into the direction of being a collector. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I think of, man. I think of well, the first thing you think of being a fan is the guys that started it off, the Universal monsters. I mean, those are the big hitters, man. Those are the ones that started it.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
remember, I remember me and you having a conversation when we did the subgenre episode about our favorite. When we're talking about our favorite monsters and stuff like that.
Mm.
Frankenstein's monster is going to be my favorite. I also like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Um, those looks are just incredible, and they're so iconic.
Yeah. Well, you also got the Mummy, and
Of
then you got
course.
Bela Lugosi's Dracula, and then you even have Lon Chaney.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hunt. He played Hunchback, right? Was it Lon
Mm.
Chaney Jr. that played Hunchback? Because I would even
Uh,
consider that to be, huh?
yeah, I think it was um, Junior. Junior was the Wolfman.
Okay, yeah, he played
Yeah.
Wolfman. So
Hmm.
Senior did
Yeah.
Hunchback, but even Hunchback was kind of an icon, from that
Yeah.
time period, you know. But yeah, you talked about Gilman, um, and then like I said, Frankenstein. Of course, when you think about horror, you think about Jason, Freddy, and Chucky, and stuff like that. Because obviously those are the icons. Those are the big ones. Even like you said, Leatherface.
Yeah.
Um, but he, and coincidentally, he didn't have the whole like a bigger franchise like the Nightmare on Elms or the Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely didn't
But
have any
he was
sequels.
like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying didn't have that many sequels. As not nearly as much as those guys did.
No. But I mean, even still, it worked because it was just so. I mean, he was just iconic, in general. Because I
Yeah.
mean, you do think about that. Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to um, the first film, the way it was portrayed so well, and everything, and then ultimately, I mean, when you think about, not only do you think about the icon, you also think about the weapon that they chose. So, like, obviously, Jason, he's got the machete. Freddy, he's got the gloves. Or the glove with the knives. Um, and then ultimately the chainsaw. You know,
Yeah. That Michael's got
so
his knife. Hmm.
Michael has his knife. So, but yeah, um, but yeah, that just that goes to show, that those are the icons. Um, but for me, as far as like my icons, of course, like I've talked about several times, Tarman. Um,
Hmm.
that's a big one for me, Tarman. And then even Carrie White, because that was one of the first films that I watched. And ultimately, when you think of like kind of like a paranormal film or whatever, you kind of go back to her a little bit, especially that scene in the prom where the
Oh
blood
yeah,
comes down onto her. Everyone
so
knows the scene.
so
Yeah,
iconic. I've seen it on so many T-shirts and stickers, and I mean, just so much memorabilia. It's such an iconic moment. Just her doused in pig's blood and
hmm
just going crazy, and yeah, dude,
yeah.
that's so iconic.
So I mean, for
It's a good,
me, she's very iconic, you know.
absolutely.
But yeah, so but yeah, we you kind of touched a little bit on it. You want to go a little further in depth on some of the other iconic killers that you can think of?
Um, First and foremost, Norman Bates pops into mind. You think of Norman Bates, you think of Anthony Perkins and how he just from the first movie and even into the sequels, he just plays that character so well, man.
He really does.
It's fascinating to watch his performance because in the first movie, he's so he comes off so innocent and it draws you in. Like you can see how she would be drawn in and let her guard down, considering what all that's happened that's progressed up into that point. So he's so good at like getting people to let their guard down, and then boom, when it snaps for him. When he becomes mother, it's like it's amazing, man. I always think of Norman Bates when I think of icons and horror. Like he pops up all the time for me.
Mhm.
Just that iconic look of him in the dress and the wig and then the knife, and it just that is such an iconic moment. And even in the sequels, like his character changes a little bit, like he goes through different arcs, and but he still plays it so well. It's so fascinating. He's very underrated when it comes to the sequels in particular. Like those sequels do not get enough love. I mean, most hardcore horror fans do enjoy them and they sing their praises a lot, but they're not up there talked about like the original Psycho is. I mean, absolutely not. But they're fun. They're a blast. I love watching them, and I love watching his performance.
Yeah,
That's another one for me. And
yeah,
of course, I think of course you can't think of icons without thinking about Jaws either, man. Like
that's
Jaws,
great.
big.
Yes, that's something that I kind of want to bring up because I think I was having a discussion with my mom earlier, but because I was going through like lists of icons, and one that popped up was Chief Brody, and I'm
Mm,
like, but okay, yeah, the character is kind of iconic, but realistically, you think of Jaws, you don't think of Chief Brody or even Quinn for that matter or anything like that. You think of Jaws,
yep.
and I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, in itself, he is very iconic.
Well,
Um,
I look at it like this. Jaws for me is I don't like going to the beaches really. I don't like swimming. And I think psychologically, it has a lot to do with that film for me because that's another film I watched at a very young age, and I just don't want to. I always have that underlying fear that there's going to be a great white out there, or any kind of shark for that matter, that can pull you. I mean, it happens, that'll pull you in and just completely decimate you. That and the fact that I can't, I'm not a swimmer anyway. It just like that really just freaks me out, and I don't go in the water. So the fact that it has that impression on me and it leaves that impression on me, that's an icon right there, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's definitely an icon. I've said it time and time again. Jaws is kind of a household name in our house. Like we watch Jaws probably the majority of the time. Like if it's on TV, we watch it. It just seems to think, or I seem to think that obviously it's my wife's like one of my wife's favorite horror films. So, and she'll even sit down and watch the sequels. So it's pretty cool.
I have never in my life, in my whole entire life, found anybody that doesn't like Jaws. That is
Yeah.
one of the most, that to me is, when I think of movies in general, that is one of the most universally loved films I think that's ever been made.
Yeah.
I kid you not, I have never met anyone that says they don't like Jaws.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean most people in general just love it. The horror fans or not, people love that movie. It's so prevalent. So, like I said, it's just universally loved, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, I can't say enough about it. It's one of my favorite um, films. I don't like obviously number four. Number four was garbage to me, but 1 through 3 was amazing though. I loved every one of them. Even the crappy, just the crappy CGI. I think that's when they were really starting to toy around with CGI in the third movie. Um. So yeah. But yeah.
Nothing's practical.
Huh?
No, I said nothing beats practical, and I think that's what made the first movie so iconic. Is that Spielberg kind of used that less is more when it came to the shark. I mean, obviously he had to, because it was a pain in the ass to deal with animatronic and to get it working and stuff like that. But the fact that Jaws didn't get a lot of screen time was beneficial. I think if you saw the shark more, it wouldn't have made it as impactful. So I
Yeah.
think that's just a genius of Spielberg, though. He knows how to structure a movie, and the fact that he did it that way was of course why it's so. I mean, one of the many reasons why it's so iconic.
Mm. Yeah. Um. Something earlier you hit on. I wanted to kind of bring it up. This is kind of going off subject of Jaws because I wanted to hit this one up real quick. But you were talking about uh, Toxie,
Yeah.
uh, and you were saying that how he's more of an icon for you, but in reality, if you think about it, he's really an icon for Troma.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
he's almost
because
mascot.
anytime you see Troma or you think of Troma. In fact, I had a supervisor at work who's not into horror at all, doesn't watch horror films, but he knew about Trauma, which blew my damn mind. And then on top of it, he was like, "Isn't that company that did that guy where he was a kid and he turned into this creature?" And I was like, "Dude, fuck, that's Toxie, man."
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that just somebody randomly knew that was really cool. So it's iconic, in its
It
own little
definitely
way.
it definitely is, man. Him and his tutu and his mop and his lazy eye, his all droopy eye and shit. Like, yeah, man, he's definitely got his own look. That's for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And we've even, well, have you ever met Mark Torgel?
I did, yeah. I think the first Mad Monster I ever went to, he was there, and I got to meet him, and he signed my Toxie box set. He was really cool, man. He signed a print for me too. He was a really nice guy. He's like honestly, one of the first people I've met at a convention was him, because he was planted like right there at the entranceway of the hotel that we were at. He was the first person you saw when you got when you showed him your ID and they let you in. He was one of the first booths that was up. So I was like, yeah, I got to meet him. I brought my Toxie box set. I got to meet him. So I met him, and he was cool. He was dressed up. He had his he had a tutu on, and I think he was promoting a documentary. I think that
Toxic,
he was in.
Toxic
Yeah,
Tutu.
Toxic Tutu. Yeah, I don't know if it was a documentary or if that was a full blown movie, but I can't remember. But
I
he
think it
was
was a
promoting.
movie, dude.
Yeah, he was promoting that heavily, and
Yeah.
yeah, he was cool. Super nice guy.
Yeah. I've met him. I met him one time. Actually, I think it was the last Mad Monster I went to. Um, and he actually talked to like my son and everything. It was really cool. Uh, I think he had somewhere he had to be, so it didn't like we just kind of met in passing and talked for a minute, and that was pretty much about it.
Oh, okay. You get
Yeah.
anything signed by him or anything?
No, no, I didn't get anything signed by him. Um, yeah, we were just chatting, and then I think he was going to like a Q&A or something. He had to do something. He
Oh,
was like,
okay.
I'm really late. I gotta go. I was like, all right. So it was pretty cool.
No doubt, man.
So we talked about Jason a little bit, who is probably your favorite icon, correct?
That's my guy. Yep, Jason's always going to be my guy. I am a Friday
Let's
the 13th fanboy, and I make no apologies about it.
let's start real quick with the first movie, who Jason isn't really involved in.
Hmm.
Would you consider Mrs. Voorhees to be an icon?
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely. Absolutely. With how important that movie was to, you know,
entire franchise.
well, yeah, the franchise, but in horror history, that movie was so important. It kind of really set off the slasher boom. I mean, Halloween set that bar, but then with the success of Friday the 13th, because it was very successful in the box office, that's what opened up the floodgates to all the, you know, all these producers and stuff saying, "Hey, we need to jump on the slasher movie bandwagon," and they did.
Yeah.
Man, it was right after that movie came out. Just every script that was put on a table was greenlit, and they were like, "Okay, good. You got a small budget, make it happen. Let's make some money." And there were so many slasher films that came out after that. But just to Mrs. Voorhees' point, I mean, she to me, she's definitely an icon.
Yeah.
Absolutely, a mother that you know that kills for her son, and you know like that's like wow, it's incredible when you think about it. But even the way she portrayed that character was
Mhm.
very very cool. You can tell she used a lot. I remember when she was hitting our final girl Alice. When she was hitting her, she was actually slapping her and like really slapping her and letting her have it. And because I think that was backed off her theater background that she was used to doing that. So they kind of had to tell her like, hey, you can't really do that. This is a movie. She
Yeah.
just, I mean, she took that performance and ran with it. I mean, and you could definitely tell she was great when she's talking to herself and she's talking to herself as Jason. It's
Mhm.
fantastic, man. She really did a great job.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Palmer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one I wish I could have met. Betsy
Me
Palmer.
too. Me too. She seemed
Yeah.
like a sweetheart with her fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have definitely loved to meet her. So we talked about Miss Voorhees. Let's talk about Jason for a minute.
Uh, Gladly.
So obviously he's your icon. I would say he's kind of my icon too. He's got that classic sad story, which makes you ultimately feel for him. And just he's just a badass.
Yeah, and just his evolution through the whole franchise has been remarkable. He started off as, you know, the jump scare in part one, and then he's the guy, he's the hermit, living in the woods in part two with the sack over his head. He doesn't have his hockey mask at that point. Then in part
Mm-mm.
three, he gets the iconic hockey mask.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
then
is
in part
which is my
four,
favorite.
yes, I know that's your personal favorite, which I love part three as well. Um, in part four, which is my favorite Jason is always going to be Ted White. He portrayed that character so well. He's so menacing. And I know Kane Hodder is as well, and I know a lot of the other guys that portrayed him are too. But he just brings something different to that character. So that was my favorite, and then part 5 as well. You don't really get Jason there, but part 6 he comes back with full force, and he starts his evolution, becoming the undead killer, the unstoppable force of nature. And then it really picks up when Kane Hodder portrays that character. He's just you feel like he cannot be stopped. He can just slay anything in his path. And I think it's just the evolution of his character has been fascinating through the sequels. And even when you talk about him going into space and him going to hell, and they've done so much with that character, man. Like, what else can they do? I mean, I'm sure they could think of something, but when you think about it, it's like, and then the fact that we haven't had a new Friday the 13th since 2009.
Well, it was supposed to be in the works, wasn't it? And then it just kept getting shut down.
It's supposed to be. I've heard stories about this and that. I just want to see Jason on the big screen again, man. I want to see a new one. I don't care. It's been too long.
Yeah. And no offense to Derek Mears. I really want to see Kane back in the role.
Absolutely. They really messed up big time when they didn't put Kane Hodder in the role for Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah.
That was an injustice, man.
Yeah.
Should have never done that.
Like I said, don't get me wrong, Derek Mears. I've actually met Derek Mears, and he's a really nice guy, and really fun to talk with and everything. And he actually, I took I think Hatchet 3 for him to sign or whatever, and he was like, "Oh man, I was such an asshole in this movie. You sure you didn't bring anything else?" So
that's awesome.
Yeah. He was genuinely like, "Man, I was such an asshole in this movie." But yeah, he for what it was, I enjoyed watching him as Jason.
Yeah. He brought a little something different to that character.
He did. They each do.
What I appreciate about each stuntman that portrayed this character over the entire franchise, that each one of them has brought something different, or has tried to bring something different to that character. Because it's hard, you're acting with your body, you're not speaking lines. It's a different form of acting, so it's a lot harder to kind of portray that with your physicality. But these guys have done a fantastic job. And
yeah, but I mean, ultimately, if you portrayed Jason like that, you ultimately need to, basically become Jason in a sense. So, and that's what Ted White has, said in the past, that he when he portrayed Jason, he was Jason. Like you said, he just kind of, I think you've told me in the past that he was very standoffish to all the rest of the actors and actresses. And
yeah, like when they went on break and stuff like that, like he wouldn't eat with them. He would be off on his own because he didn't want the other actors and actresses to become familiar with him. He wanted them to be genuinely scared of him when he's on screen, when they roll. So
yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I think Kane's done that stuff too. Kane's really gotten into character more than any other stuntman that has portrayed that character.
I
Kane,
agree with that.
he really took it and ran with it, and that's what I respect about Kane. Is he's like, man, the other guys that come in, they just do one movie and then they're out. I want to continue playing this character. I want to make this character mine, and I can appreciate that, and I can really respect that he did that. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
And with you, Friday 13th Part 3, that's got one of my favorite kills in the entire franchise in it. So,
which one was that?
It's the handstand kill with Andy.
Dude, that's such a fun kill.
That's one of my favorite kills in the franchise, man. I love that kill. It's wicked. But yeah, I could talk Jason all day, man. But like I said, it's really cool to see his progression through the entire franchise. That's one thing I'll just throw out there.
Maybe we need to do an episode, or it's going to have to be a couple episodes, but on the entire franchise.
Oh man, that's my dream. Is to dive into the Friday the 13th franchise and talk about each movie.
Let's do it.
I would definitely be down to do that. You can book me for those, no doubt.
I'm game.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, you brought up actually one of my favorite icons from the '90s, and that's Candyman.
Candyman.
Tony Todd, dude, he's so creepy. And you've met him,
I have.
which
He
that sucks.
he is he is something else, man. He is a character in and of itself. Tony Todd is cool as hell. He is so chill. He just talks to you like you first meet him, he talks to you like he's known you for his whole life. You know, he's very personable, very nice with his fans. I mean, I just had a fantastic conversation with him. I told him that must have been, I want to say about 5 years ago I met him. And I told him,
Wow.
like, listen, man, I've seen Candyman a lot. And when I was younger, I could not go in the mirror and I could not say Candyman 5 times. I can't. I couldn't do
Hmm.
it. Like, I was too chicken shit. I could not do it. Like, it's one of those things for me. Like, I can't say Candyman in the mirror 5 times.
Yeah.
He's, man, that's cool. He really got a kick out of that. And I'm like, I'm sure you have heard that plenty of times. He's like, oh, I've heard that quite a few times. But he was
Yeah.
cool, man. He was just really, really nice, talking about family and asked me about my family and stuff like that. Like, he was really down to earth. And
That's pretty cool.
Tony Todd's a great guy.
Yeah. That's kind of a dream. I want to meet him one day.
I'm telling you, dude, you will not be disappointed.
You know, he comes to the South Carolina Comic Con a lot, so there's a
It's a good,
way.
yeah, that's a good way to do it. Hopefully, he'll be booked for another Mad Monster or Days of the Dead
That'd be cool.
when the convention circuit opens back up after all this is over with.
Yeah, I'm hoping it opens back up soon. But yeah, so Candyman though, I genuinely remember being kind of creeped out by it, and but ultimately you kind of just feel sorry for him at the end of the day, you know. For some
Yeah,
reason, it's just his story. It's almost like that Jason story. It's kind of sad. It was a
yeah, and
sad story along with
yeah,
a terrible killer.
that's what gets the people like on the side of the killer is their tragic backstory. People relate to it and they feel sympathy for the killer. And I mean, I know a lot of horror films have drawn off that sympathy, and that's why a lot of people when they watch horror films they gravitate more toward the killer than they do the people that are actually getting killed. So it's kind of fascinating in that way. You know, you hear that a lot, like, "Oh, I got more in common with the guy slashing up these teens than I do the teens." You know,
Yeah,
you hear that a lot. So, but I mean, Candyman's backstory is really tragic. So
yeah.
you can't help but feel sympathy for him.
No.
Like, it's awful.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he just, he wanted love.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all it
Yeah.
is.
Crucified for it. I mean, it's awful. But
Mm-hmm.
that and Tony Todd just brings such a, a high level of class to that role. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. He's very classic with that role. His line delivery, everything is so smooth. He's
Mm-hmm.
very he's almost he's almost theatrical with it.
Yeah, I could see your point there, definitely.
Yeah.
And even you can almost even see that in the Final Destination films as well. And
Mhm.
I was sitting there thinking about it just now. I was like, Final Destination films really, I mean, yeah, they are what they are, but for like people like us, we don't genuinely like sit down and watch the Final Destination films.
Yeah.
But I'll watch a new one if Tony Todd's in it, definitely, because I want to see his portrayal, in those films. 'Cause it almost seems like he's similar in those films, the way he
Yeah.
talks, the way he acts.
It's his voice, man. He's got
It
a
is,
fantastic voice. It really does.
yeah, definitely. So, what you think about bringing up the tall man?
Oh, of course, man. Oh, of
That's another
course.
one of your icons.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. The tall man is indeed an icon. And the first convention I ever went to, I got to meet Angus Grimm before he passed away. And that was one of
Yeah.
the coolest, most surreal moments of my life. Because I'll tell you, his line was massive. It was insanely long. And when I was up there and I met him, he actually sat, he's like, young man, he's like, sit down with me and talk with me. And I was just blown away. He had all these people in his line, and he sat down and talked for me for what seemed like 7 minutes, 8 minutes for a while. And it was just the most surreal thing I've ever experienced. Like, he, so sweet of a person, an absolutely sweet person. And, RIP Angus Grimm. I mean, it was an honor to talk to him. It really was. And just to hear about his stories. And he would ask me about my stories and about what I was doing. I was just it's so personable. It was incredible, man. That's why I love going to conventions. You meet celebrities that really truly appreciate their fans and they want to talk to them. I mean, he
Oh yeah.
took his time to sit me down with a long ass line of people behind me and talk to me. I
Yeah.
mean, it just blew my mind, man. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
definitely. Oh, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, tall man is indeed an icon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
glad you brought that up, man.
well, whenever you think of the Phantasm films, you think of two things. Well, for me, I think of three things. I think of Brian's story where he walked out on Don Coscarelli's film at one
Yeah,
time. Um, and then obviously Tall Man, and
yeah,
then the Sphere. You know.
yeah. Well, I would throw Reggie in there. I think of Reggie Bannister too. I,
Okay.
yeah, he's a constant in that franchise. So I always think of Reggie.
Yeah, I would think so too. Even though the funny thing is he's not even the main character. So
Yeah, he's like he kind of like throughout the franchise kind of becomes like I don't know, like the protagonist. I mean, he becomes that guy. And then
yeah,
in the first one, he started off as like, oh, he's the buddy and kind of hangs around and stuff, and then he gets roped into all the craziness that's going on, and then he kind of like then he becomes the spearhead. He becomes the guy. So I think of Reggie. I think of Tall Man. I think of Phantasm, and of course the spear. The spear. I do. You
yeah.
can't you can't not think of that spear, man.
Mm-mm.
Or spear. I keep saying spear. I don't know what I keep doing. My mind
uh,
is gone.
you're fine. And actually, it's kind of funny because when I talk about um, horror films, there's a guy at work that again he doesn't watch horror or anything like that. But he actually brings up the Phantasm films because that was like his favorite films from the '80s, and I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Telling you, man, that's another franchise that
Oh yeah,
is beloved.
oh yeah.
I was going to ask you, we can't talk about icons in horror without bringing up the man, the myth, the legend, Ash Williams.
Yes, let's talk about Ash Williamson.
I was going to say, we got to talk about this man.
I will say I've got so many editions of The Evil Dead. It's unreal.
I do too. It's insane.
Well, and then on top of it, like even Daniel was at the flea market one time, and he showed up at the house, and he was like, "Hey, I saw this. It was like for $1, so here you go." And it was the Boomstick edition. And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking cool."
Yes, man.
Yeah. Do you have that edition?
I don't have that edition,
Ooh.
which kills me because I saw it at Eric's for the longest time. I'm like, I'll come back and get. I already have so many editions of Army of Darkness. I'm like, I don't really need another one. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then I'm like, the minute I do want it, it's gone. Of course, that happens to collectors. That happens all the time. If you
Oh
don't
yeah.
pounce right away, you're going to miss out eventually. But
Yeah.
I probably have more editions of Evil Dead than any other movie in my collection.
Even Dawn. Is it
Yeah.
Dawn? Is it Dawn of the Dead or Zombie? Zombie 2.
I have about 3 editions of Zombie. No, I have 4. No, Evil Dead's still the one I have most of because I think I have about 6 editions of that movie.
Wow.
It's including Blu-ray and DVD and then
Yeah.
box or whatever. Yeah, and then I got the Necronomicon edition. So
Mm,
I got so many that franchise. I have easily more editions of that franchise than any other movie.
that's funny.
Like no doubt. But Bruce Campbell is I'm telling you, man, his portrayal of Ash is iconic.
I mean, he is Ash. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, we talk about like Candyman. You can't think of Candyman without Tony Todd. You can't think
Yeah,
of Ash Williams without thinking of Bruce Campbell.
can't
Just
think
all
of
those quick one-liners from him too. It's just so funny.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's great.
Yeah.
He's so he's just enjoying himself on screen. Man. You can
Mhm.
tell he's just having a blast, and he pours his heart into it. And it's like I said, that's why it's legendary. But he's one of those guys like you can't think of Ash Williams without Bruce Campbell. It's like you can't think of Freddy Krueger without Robert Englund. And I mean, you just they're can't think of a Tall Man without Angus Scrimm. I mean, there's so certain characters that you cannot replicate that with another actor. I mean, they try to do that with and this is another icon that we're probably going to talk about a little bit. They tried doing that with the new Hellraisers with they tried to put another actor in as Pinhead, and it just didn't
Mhm.
work. Doug
No,
Bradley is Pinhead.
yeah,
I
that is
mean,
Pinhead.
yeah, that is Pinhead. You can't replicate that character. He brings so much to that character. When you try to it's funny when you try to bring in another actor to portray that character
Hmm.
and you can't help but compare it. Like you're always going to compare it. You just can't help it. Just like when remakes come out, you have to compare it to the original. It's just
Yeah.
it happens. But it's just night and day, man. Doug Bradley brings such a class to that character and it just it fails miserably on that other actor's part. I mean, I feel bad for the guy, but he had big shoes to fill.
Hmm.
He just can't do
Well,
it. I mean,
they also did that with Nightmare on Elm.
yeah,
When they didn't cast Robert Englund as Freddy, I didn't even honestly give it a chance. I wouldn't. You know, I
it's
think
just
you gave it a chance and you said it was a flop or whatever.
well, that movie had a lot of issues, like screenplay wise. The writing was awful. I mean, that movie had a lot of issues, but of course, when you compare the two, it's just like you can't compare. It's it's hard to you'll never be able to top it, but it's hard to just at least equal the the height of that movie. And it's not going to happen if you're doing a remake and you're remaking a movie with an icon that has so much
Hmm.
personality. Freddy's different because Freddy has so much personality. Robert Englund brings so much to that character. And it's funny, when I was growing up with Nightmare on Elm Street, I didn't grow up with the really terrifying, scary Freddy. I started watching the sequels where he became more comedic. So he was always like a comedic, like he was always more comedic to me. And then I went back when I was older and watched the original, and I watched the sequel, which was probably him at his peak where he was terrifying. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh man, this character is fucking terrifying. So it's interesting when you go back and when you watch the sequels, you watch the later sequels first, and then you get more of appreciation for the character when you watch the original. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh shit, Freddy don't fuck around. Freddy is vindictive.
I love how he toyed around with his victims.
He does, man.
Yeah. It's almost like a cat and mouse game.
That mouse thing with him, yeah. He
Yeah.
just gets his jollies off on it. I mean, he loves it.
Yeah. But he was always so confident, like it almost was like a cockiness to him a little bit.
Yeah,
Like, no matter what, I know I'm gonna kill you. Not too many people get away from him.
no doubt. No
Uh,
doubt.
um,
Freddie Freddie was the guy. He tied up loose ends, man. He did not let loose ends get very far. Like he.
You know. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying he was good about tying up those loose ends.
Yeah, definitely. You know what my favorite line from him is? You know what film my favorite line from him was?
Oh man. I could take a guess. I could tell you what mine is, and probably be the same guess because I mean it's one of the most iconic lines that in the franchise. But
Which one?
mine is "Welcome to Prime Time, bitch." I mean,
He slams
yeah,
Dream Warriors, right?
yeah. He slams her head into the TV.
Was that Dream Warriors?
That's Dream
No,
Warrior. Mm-hmm.
was it?
Yep.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
slams her face into the TV. That's a great one.
That's my favorite.
My favorite's actually in Freddy versus Jason.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And there's a scene where Jason is this little boy and he's still wearing a mask. And does he snatch the mask off of Jason's face or something? But all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, like Jason's like this little boy, and he's like, "Oh, now that's a face only a mother could love." That right there just says it all for me. I mean, that just summed everything up: the assholeness of Freddy, and then just the storyline of Jason right there in one shot.
That's right.
You can't
That's why
beat it.
Robert Englund elevate. I mean, he is Freddy, and he's always going to be Freddy. No one can step into those shoes and fill that character.
No,
I
they really can't.
it can't happen. He brings so much personality to that role.
Yeah. Well, I
And,
mean, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying it. That's why it's so iconic.
Yeah. And to your point about what you said earlier, as far as between him and Pinhead, it's really such a hard way to fill those roles because the characters aren't hidden behind a mask.
They're not.
So if you cast me as Freddy, obviously the facial features are going to be much different. You can definitely tell if I'm going to be wearing a Robert Englund mask.
Mm-hmm.
And same goes for Pinhead. You know what Pinhead looks like. And if you change the look, it's not going to be the same. And I think that's what it boils down to with those two mainly.
Right.
Because I mean, you can change, and here we're talking about icons and everything. You got Chucky, right? Uh, from my understanding, are they are planning on making a new Child's Play film? And if I heard correctly, they're planning on casting somebody else other than Brad Dourif as the voice.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know.
how's that? I
No,
mean,
with the remake, the pseudo remake they did, they actually got Mark Hamill to do the voice, which is pretty remarkable.
okay, maybe that's what I was thinking then.
Yeah. That's the first time I think Brad Dourif hasn't voiced Chucky.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was different, but I think Mark Hamill was fine because Mark Hamill is, of course, a fantastic voice actor.
he
So
is.
yeah,
He's
I just
there.
thought with that character, he was going to go a little like he was going to sound too much like Joker. So I
Hmm.
was kind of worried. I was like, oh, I don't know. I hope he doesn't go Joker. But no, he didn't. He didn't. He did it. He did his own thing, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good. But I mean, Brad Dourif is that's that voice. I mean,
Yeah,
you think of Chucky, you think of course that voice and his snarky. I love the way he voices that character. Man, he's so snarky and he's so much like Freddy in that way, where he's lovable. He's a lovable villain, because he has these quick one-liners and snarky things he says. I mean, it's just you love that character. You love that little ginger doll.
yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Chucky was one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Growing up, I remember watching Chucky when I was younger. Well, Child's Play, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I had a Good Guy doll when I was young too.
See,
And I
that's
think, yeah, I think my mom got rid of that pretty fast after the movies were made. But yeah,
oh,
I think I remember having one definitely.
that's cool, dude.
Um, so yeah, we've hit on some pretty good icons here. one of your favorites from the 90s. Let's go ahead and hit that one. Ghostface.
Oh, Ghostface, man. The
Yeah.
most clumsy killer in all of horror film history. I can't think how many times that character trips and falls. It's so funny, man. You go back and watch the franchise, man. I'm telling you,
I'm gonna have
nobody.
to sit down now and just count.
Oh, dude, you got it. You got to do a count. Like it's a good drinking game. Every time Ghostface falls over or trips or something, you have to take a shot. You would be just destroyed by the sequel.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. I mean that's a good one. The first Scream is just absolutely classic, absolutely classic. The writing is absolutely fantastic. The screenplay and everything is just remarkable. And that character, you think of the voice, you think of the phone calls, you think of just hearing that voice.
Yeah.
Really
Or even just
you.
the opening scene.
Oh
You
man, it's
instantly
fantastic.
think of the opening scene.
It's one of the best opening scenes in horror history, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is. It subverts your expectations. It does the Psycho thing where you think, oh, you got a big name. Drew Barrymore, of course, the big name of that, in that film, and you think, oh, this is going to be your final girl. Nope, it's not going to be your final girl.
Yeah.
Yep. Ghostface is cool though. I love how they just take, they make an icon out of such a generic looking ghost mask. It's really, really funny.
Yeah. And then I remember when they first came out with that movie, everyone was Ghostface for Halloween, dude.
Oh yeah,
Everyone.
yeah. I mean, like I said, that mask you could pretty much find it anywhere. I remember going to Halloween stores as a kid, and that mask was everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. There was different variations, and some of them had like blood in them, and some of them looked just a little different. Some of them had cracked look, but there were so many variations of that mask. But that mask was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good look though, man. It's a good look.
Yeah. I had fun with it. I still got to get the rest of them. I don't have all of them. I think I got 1 through 3.
Yeah,
So
4 was good. I enjoyed 4.
okay.
I had a fun time with that one. It's one of the best ones in the franchise, honestly.
Damn.
I'd put it right up there with part 1.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'll have to get it. I need to get them. I gotta make it a point to get them. But now I kind of want to upgrade and get all Blu-ray. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well,
We'll
they have
see.
I know for the longest time they had. I don't know if they have it. I think they might have had it at Walmart. I might be thinking about Best Buy, but I remember seeing the franchise Blu-ray collection somewhere. Might have been Best Buy though. Yeah, probably was Best Buy.
Definitely have to check it out.
Yeah. But I
Um,
also wanted to touch on when we talk about horror icons. I don't know. I cannot not name that these are actors, by the way, not necessarily characters, but they've brought so many unique characters to this genre that I have to point out. The fantastic Peter Cushing, the fantastic Christopher Lee, and the fantastic Vincent Price.
oh yeah, definitely.
Those those three are legendary, and the characters that they have portrayed over their long, illustrious careers, I mean, are some of the best characters.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Vincent Price's stuff with the Edgar Allan Poe and the Roger Corman. I sat back a couple weeks ago and watched a couple of those movies, and his acting is just remarkable, man. He's such a classic actor. I mean, it's he's very. We talk about theatrical. He's very theatrical, and he delivers his lines with a vibrato, and his voice is iconic. And I think Christopher Lee. When I think of Dracula, I think of Christopher Lee's Dracula. I don't necessarily. My mind doesn't go straight to Lugosi. It goes to Christopher Lee because I watched his Dracula movies more than I have Bella's Dracula movies. So, and Christopher Lee was just fantastic as Dracula. I mean, not to mention he has probably one of the most amazing filmographies of any actor that's ever lived. I mean, he's done literally everything,
Yeah,
and he's an absolute legend, not an icon, but a legend. And so is of course Peter Cushing. And you can't. Those three are absolute legends when you talk about horror. Like they waved that flag for the longest time, and I just wanted to shout them out and say I'm a huge fan of those three.
definitely. Definitely, yeah. I agree with you 100%.
I
Of
just
course,
felt
Ben.
didn't bring those guys up. Like
Oh, yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, mainly for me, it's not so much Peter Cushing as it is Christopher Lee and Vincent Price. Vincent Price, dude, I mean, he is, like you said, he's a legend. He's an icon to me. And, he didn't do a whole lot of as far as like where he was in makeup, but
Mm.
his characters, I mean, he portrayed him so well. I mean, just his persona, and like almost like Tony Todd, he had a creepiness to him too,
Yeah,
But I've watched several films where Vincent Price, it wasn't even a horror film, it was kind of like some exploitation films from the '60s and stuff that he was in, or maybe it was the '70s he was in those. Um, but it just just genuinely he still had a creepiness to him for some reason.
he did.
So
One of the saddest things I ever watched, and this is like something that really pulls at my heart. I can't really watch this movie. Not because it's a bad movie, just because of what happens. When I sit down and watch, I've watched it a couple of times, but when I sit down and watch Edward Scissorhands,
mhm,
I know that was one of Vincent Price's last um, movies that he did, and
yeah,
see his character, and then what happens to his character when he's just has such a big heart and he's such a sweet person, and then when he passes away in that movie, it just kills me every time. Like, because I don't think of that character. I think of what happens to Vincent Price and him passing away, and it just kills me every time, man. I can't sit down and watch that movie without getting a little misty eyed and thinking about that legend. Because
yeah,
I'm such a Price fan that it just kills me every time I see that.
yeah,
Not to say the movie's bad. It's just those scenes with him and Edward when he's kind of showing just having a banter with him, and
mhm,
it's so sad, man. It's so sad to see him at that frail stage of his life, and it just gets me. So,
yeah, yeah. I agree. I'm that way when I like what was it? We were watching the Walking Dead or whatever,
mhm.
and the scene where basically Rick is dying and he's like going through all these flashbacks and I guess he's almost like dreaming of all these people around and one of
Mhm.
them is Herschel, played by Scott Wilson.
Yeah,
And that scene, it's like he just died, and in real life, and you're just watching it, and you're just like, man, that's really so sad. Like I almost like had a heavy heart when I was watching that scene. I think I even had to rewind it and rewatch that because it was, that was, like I said, his last role that he did, or at least I think it was his last role before he passed away. So
that's a good way to describe it. A heavy heart,
yeah,
definitely feel it. Yeah, you definitely feel it. And
yeah,
for me, with Vincent Price, that's it for me because I just grew up with him, watching him on. I've seen so many of his movies, man, so many. Like
mhm,
I've pretty much went through his whole filmography and checked this off, checked that off, just watching, and he brings a class to every one of his characters he portrays. He always has. There's not a role where he hasn't brought something that's remarkable. So
yeah.
yeah, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can see that he's a good one. Well, one of my favorites is is obviously we've talked about Kane Hodder, so I would say out of horror, one of my all-time favorite actors is Kane. And one of the icons I would like to talk about next is Victor Crowley. Ultimately, Victor Crowley is an icon that I ultimately wished was still or came about more. I wanted okay. What I'm trying to say is I wanted it to be a franchise,
Mhm.
and it just honestly didn't happen. I mean, it kind of happened, but you know, when you think of franchises, obviously you think of like 10 movies or better. You know, so like Nightmare on Elm, you know, Friday the 13th. You think of those as franchises, but I guess everything really pretty much after a sequel could be a franchise, you know.
Mhm.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish Victor Crowley would could have been a bigger monster these days. Um, he when he came out, he was very iconic, like you know.
Yeah,
Um, and then just you know, with the first film, you had so many people in it. You had Kane Hodder and Tony Todd and Robert Englund and uh, trying to think of some other names that were in it. There was some big names in it though. Um, but and it just goes to show that in each film it progresses. There's just always big names associated with it. Almost kind
hmm
of nod to everyone in the genre.
absolutely, man. Even the sequel had a lot of icons in it too. A lot of
Yeah.
horror people. But point I was going to make was when you were working at movie gallery, and I would come in there, and you were both horror fans. You turned me on to this movie called Hatchet. You're like, hey man, you got to check this out. This is a really good movie. And
Hmm.
I rented it and stuff like that, and that was my introduction to Hatchet. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I've been craving for. Around that time, it was the early 2000s. You had a lot of Saw shit coming out, and this,
Hmm.
and that. And I'm like, man, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch a movie with an iconic villain that's a slasher villain. That's what I want. I'm craving that. And then as soon as you popped me in on Hatchet and I watched it, I'm like, this is what I've been craving. This is what I've been wanting. So
Yeah.
I have you to thank for that, and you to thank for getting me on Hatchet and that franchise, and Adam Green's work in particular, and Victor Crowley, who I think when you think of more modern, um, you think of more modern, villains and stuff like that, and slasher
Yeah.
villains. Victor Crowley is the first one that pops up for me, man, because his kills are just brutal. I mean, they're all practical. They're
Hmm.
amazing. He's got an iconic look. He kind of looks like Madman Mars a little bit. I've always noticed that.
I
Like, I
can see
wonder if
that.
that was, yeah, I wonder if that was like a thing on Adam Green's part, because I know Adam Green's a big horror fan, so I wonder if he kind of modeled him a little bit after. Not saying that he took directly after him, but maybe just a little after
Yeah.
him. But kind of looks like Madman Mars. But I just think he's awesome. I think he's cool. Um, there's a lot of like more indie slasher films, and I watch and I'm like, I want this guy to become an icon. I want him to have a franchise. I want him to do more. Like, he's got a good look, he's got a good backstory, he's got a good this. Like, I want more of this, you know. And for me, one that's very recent now is I'm kind of pulling for Art the Clown, man. I'm kind of wanting Art to become another icon, because they're already talking about a sequel to Terrifier 2. I think the trailer just dropped for that. Can't wait for that to come out, but I hope Terrifier becomes a franchise. I hope Art the Clown becomes like another Victor Crowley in the more modern era, because he's cool, man. He's got a good look. He's creepy looking. He's got another thing, practical kills, and they're all fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. You
Yeah.
got to have the
Definitely.
look. You got to have the weapons. You got to have the pedigree with the kills. I mean, that'll elevate you into like a slasher icon. And hopefully, with the train moving with the sequel, and it's going to be a lot more. from what I hear, it's going to be a lot more visceral than the first one, which will blow my mind if it is, because the first one was really visceral.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm like crossing my fingers, hoping this guy becomes an icon too, and they give him more movies, and it'd just be cool to see that character more. And there's just so many other ones to name, like the Orphan Killer is another one. I wanted to see him become I wanted to see him become an icon, because he had a cool backstory.
Didn't they make a sequel? They made a sequel to that, Bloodlines.
I haven't seen anything with a sequel to. I've been following the director and like his progress, and I never
Workout
seen.
videos.
Yeah, his selfie videos and stuff like that, or his selfies and stuff like that. He was taking on Facebook, but no, I dig. Orphan Killer. I wanted more of that, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. But there's just so many more to name. It's just a couple that I can think of off the top of my head, but.
Yeah, I really wanted Orphan Killer to. I really wanted that to happen more. Um, I think he made, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he made the movie. But as I don't think it's probably made its way past the editorial stage.
Okay.
Because I there at one point I seen where he was posting pictures on Facebook of like while they were actually on set. So I know that they did film it. I don't know if they completed filming or what.
Mhm.
I don't know. I really want to see that sequel soon. I know he's probably getting tired of me because every time I see him like on Facebook or whatever, I'll message him. I'll be like, "Hey man, just what's the progress?"
Yeah, we want to know what's going on. Give us some insight. We want this movie. We
Yeah.
want more of that character.
Quit taking selfies and just make the movie.
Yeah, we want more brutality, man. That's what we need. I think that's what we need, man. Honestly, where we're at right now with the way the genre is right now,
Hmm.
everybody's clamoring for you know, The Conjuring, and then The Nun and the Annabelle. They start to become like the face of horror. It's like, no, we need a slasher villain to be the face of horror, just
I
like it
see.
was in the 80s.
And Tony, it goes back. That goes back to what I was talking about a couple episodes ago, where in this day and age, you see a change. Okay, the '80s there was a big boom of slasher films. So you got your killer, you got your storyline. Your killer's killing essentially these horny teenagers.
Hmm.
That's basically what the storyline was. In the '90s, you still had a mix of that, but you had some paranormal stuff happening. In the 2000s, it's all paranormal. It's either gore porn or paranormal. So
Yeah,
stuff like Saw. So I mean, that's what day and age we live in, I think. Ultimately, whatever appeals to the mainstream audience, because they ultimately have to make a buck on it, you know.
yeah,
And that's the reason why I love indie so much, because essentially it's horror films made by
horror fans.
fans. Yeah.
Yep,
So
they know what
so
the fans want.
mhm.
But I think honestly, man, I think if you have like, I don't know, if we get it to a renaissance where the slashers become big again, like to me they stay big, but for mainstream audiences to get behind like another slasher villain, like a Jason Voorhees and a Freddy Krueger, and you know, I think that would be fantastic. I really do. I think that would, because we're in a renaissance right now where horror's changed a little bit. It's more focused on more art house horror, like very very like sophisticated horror, like thinking man horror. There's a lot of that going on right now. And I just think we need to, we need to get a little fun, and we need to get a little, not slapstick, but just have fun with a killer going around picking people off again, and it being mainstream. And, you know, not to say movie theaters are going to play, because movie theaters are pretty much a thing of the past right now, but I just would love to see that become big again. And I think with the climate the way it is with movies being on VOD and popping up on streaming and this and that, I think it would be a good time to start that. I think it would be a good time for that to get out there to the general public.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that happens. I really do, but I don't know. We can always hope, man, but just never know what the climate's going to be like, and you know what what the studios think is going to sell, and what they're going to get their money's worth out of something. But that's the thing about horror films is that you can sink like you don't know. That's a bad phrase. You can put a low budget into a horror film, and it's always going to make money because it's a low budget. People can bank off horror films because they know they're going to make money off of them. Because you set the bar low with the low budget, and then it's going to make its money back and then some. So I think they're doing themselves an injustice by kind of not doing that. But that's just me personally thinking. I think people would really enjoy a new villain. I mean, look what happened with even you think about how big the It remake was and how big the sequel was. I mean, how much money that made. It was it was the highest grossing horror film of all time. I mean, because Pennywise, they sold Pennywise. I mean, the clown. I mean, that sold people. I mean, people wanted to see that. So I'm just saying they're kind of like wasting an opportunity. But that's just what I think.
Yeah,
I might be totally wrong. I might be way off, but with my mindset now, with the way the climate is, with what's coming out, I think they're doing themselves an injustice, man.
yeah, yeah. I can agree to that. But and there again, that's why I'm glad they're coming out with new new ideas as far as like icons. So hopefully Terrifier will turn into something. Because ultimately that's kind of what, in my opinion, what made All Hallows Eve, was
Yeah,
Artie the Clown.
yeah, he's
So
definitely the face of
yeah,
that, no doubt. It's the takeaway.
yeah. And ultimately, I mean, that's what you got to do. You just gotta, just one up yourself every time you make a film, and eventually you can get a horror icon out of it. I mean,
Yeah,
Artie the Clown kind of already is an icon,
yeah.
So this now will a franchise grow from this essentially? So
I'm
hopefully
hoping.
it will.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
hoping. I mean, I see people with Art the Clown stuff, merchandise, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's starting to take a life of its own. I mean, he's only been in a couple of movies, but if he elevates to that status of a franchise villain, then that would be so cool, man. It would be so great to see that. I think you put out a Terrifier movie like they used to do back in the day with Saw when they used to put a new Saw movie out every year around Halloween, and it would just make money. I think if you do that with art, or you do that with you have a villain and you have you center the movie around that, and it's a slasher film, I think that would make so much money.
hmm
You set it around Halloween and it's going to make money. I'm telling you.
definitely.
Because
Yeah, I agree with that.
what are people going to want to go see around that time? What are they going to rent off VOD? What are they going to, they're going to rent horror films because it's
Yeah,
Halloween. And I'm just telling you, man, it's a golden opportunity.
yeah, definitely. Well, and that's something else that we can bring up real quick is one that we really haven't talked about, Michael Myers.
Oh, I, I don't know how we didn't touch more up on Michael Myers, but you want to talk about an icon? I mean, that
Yeah.
I mean everything, the mask, the backstory. I mean,
Mhm.
it's so iconic, so iconic.
Yeah.
And I mean, it that movie in and of itself, and I mean, even the franchise. I mean, um, like I said, not the most beloved. I wouldn't say not. There's really, really hardcore Halloween franchise fans, and then there's general horror fans that say, "Oh, well, Halloween's not the greatest franchise." I'll be honest with you. And then the Halloween fans get really pissed off, and they don't want to hear that.
Uh,
They really get defensive. They're like, "Oh no, man!" And then they want to argue and this and that. But at the end of the day, it's another beloved franchise for me. I grew up with it. I remember watching Part Four a lot when I was younger. Um, the feel of that movie was great, but I mean, just it's so it's another thing with same way with Jason. It's a killer that doesn't speak. So it's a lot of physicality in the role. It's a lot of physical acting that's going on, and
Mhm.
and I think that makes it prevalent with Michael Myers and Jason is that they don't talk. So it's real hard. Freddy's got that in his back pocket where he comes up with a quip or something like that, and the audience is like, "Oh, this funny," and this and that. You have to keep the audience's attention with the a killer that doesn't talk or has no like they have personality, but they don't like they're not bringing it. They're not like bringing all that out there. They're just going around. They're killing machines. They're just going around, person to person, just slicing and dicing, just doing what they do. And I think people gravitate. They love that. I mean, I know people talk about, when I'm hanging out or whatever, and I'm a horror fan, and I talk to people that are more mainstream fans. They always bring up Michael Myers. They always bring up Jason. I rarely hear people bring up Freddy. Those two are the ones that they always bring up. They're like, "Oh yeah, I've seen every." They always say Michael Myers movie, or I've seen every Jason Voorhees movie. They never say like the franchise name. They just, and that's how they're like the more mainstream fans. But they gravitate to those guys, man. Those two are the top of the top, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Even my little brother watches, you know, Halloween and stuff like that. And I never in a million years would have thought that he would have watched stuff like that. It blows my mind,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. Yeah. So
Definitely.
he's a Halloween fanboy.
And then, well, not just that. Like you hit on some major points as far as why Halloween is kind of very special, and and ultimately this is the iconic episode where we talk about the icons, and Mike Myers definitely, obviously, is the icon of that film. Um, but there's also so many other icons that kind of have spun off from that film. You also have like Laurie Strode, obviously.
Oh yeah.
You know, not just that. I mean, just Jamie Lee Curtis in general.
Mm. Her role.
Just yeah, her roles in general. But then you have like Dr. Loomis. I mean, you just can't have classic Dr. Loomis in any other film.
Yeah. He's the most important supporting character in any horror franchise, in my opinion. Like absolutely, it. I mean, detrimental to that franchise. I mean, Donald Pleasance is an icon, and which is so funny to me to think that he took a chance. Him being such a big name actor around that time to take a chance on this little movie and for it to pretty much make his career and make
Mm,
people know Donald Pleasance has done a lot of stuff, but people know him as Dr. Loomis. I mean, and he was on that set for a little bit. He wasn't even on the set long, but he was just so iconic in his lines and everything he brought to that character. It changed his whole career after that. He became the horror guy, and
yeah,
he was getting horror roles left and right. I mean, it's so funny how that happens, though, man. He just a movie becomes so big, and then you get typecast in a way, just to where you can't escape it. It just follows you for the rest of your career. So,
yeah, definitely.
and in his case, it definitely did, and he continued on with the franchise. Thankfully, because I mean, the more Loomis we get, the better. Um, and it's just, and he's done tons of other good horror films, like Alone in the Dark is another great one he was in. And
Mm,
he's done a bunch of stuff, but he I'm with you on him, and of course Jamie Lee Curtis, two icons of that franchise as well. When you talk about Halloween, it's a good point, Corey. I didn't think to talk about that, but that is a very good point.
yeah, yeah. Because ultimately, when I was sitting down making my list, I was like, "Well, wait a minute," because it's Dr. Loomis. Yeah.
Like I said,
Um. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, like I said, he to me the most important supporting character in any horror film of all time. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
He's so detrimental to that franchise. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like the Moby Dick thing, you know. That's what it is.
Definitely.
But I just want to throw that.
Yeah, definitely. Um, and speaking of Halloween, uh, did you watch the teaser for the new Halloween film?
I have not.
You have not.
I have not.
It definitely looks like it spills the way he would survive.
Yeah, that's kind of glad. That's why I didn't want to watch. I don't try to watch trailers because they put so many spoilers in trailers nowadays. So I try to
Yeah,
stay away from trailers as much as possible. And I was
yeah,
afraid of stuff like that, so that's why I don't watch them. And there you go. You just validated that point for me a little bit.
yeah. It blatantly like basically shows you how he would survive. So
Mm, that's not
yeah.
cool.
No, it kind of sucked that that came out like that, but still,
And
I can't
then
wait to watch it.
then you have to wait a year for it to come out because it got pushed back. That sucks,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I almost kind of wonder if they shot it at the same time as they did with the other one.
Well,
Because the
I don't think so. I don't think so because they wanted to see how marketable and how successful the first one was going to be before they started shooting. Because they had an idea of doing another sequel, but they
Mhm.
wanted to see how financially successful the first film was before they started shooting or before they greenlit it. But they had the
Yeah,
script. I think they already did the script and everything, but they just wanted to see how good it was going to do financially before they went ahead and greenlit it.
okay. Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I thought they did that was because you heard about them filming it here in Charleston, but you haven't heard anything about them filming the new one here in South Carolina. So I don't know if that's why I was kind of wondering maybe they shot it at the same time, just to get it all knocked out.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know, man. Hopefully, I like the locate. I mean, with that new Halloween, I really did enjoy the locations. Thought they were really well done. I love the whole that it took place on Halloween, and you actually saw Halloween going on. I really enjoyed that. It's one of my favorite things about that movie
Yeah,
was the Halloween atmosphere. They actually had a Halloween party. Like when you see a Halloween party in a Halloween film, like that's really cool. I like that they did that.
yeah,
Makes it feel more festive.
definitely.
But yeah.
Well, you think we've hit on everything, or you want to talk about more? Do you have
Man,
any on your list that you want to talk about?
oh man, we did a lot of the heavy hitters, man. We really did. We This is a good episode, man. We've delved into a ton. I
Mm,
mean, yeah. Like I said, going back, I tried to kind of keep it in chronological order as much as I could, but it's
mm.
just so easy to get stuck on a when you get stuck on an icon, you want to talk about them. You want to put
Oh yeah.
a lot of a lot of information out there. It's hard to stay chronological, but um, like I said, we hit on Universal. Um, we talked about, of course, the Peter Cushing, Vincent Price, all
Mm.
that era, the Hammer era.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know, we didn't talk a lot about creature features, but I mean, there's some creatures that are icons. Like I could think of Pumpkinhead, of course, as an icon for me
Oh
personally.
God, yes.
Yeah, I think Pumpkinhead is one of the coolest. Oh, and of course the Xenomorph. We didn't touch on that, but Alien scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Xenomorphs are fucking terrifying when you're that young, and you see a mouth come out of the mouth.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty fucking scary. So, yeah, that's one that genuinely scared me when I was younger. Um, you know, yeah, I mean, some creatures. I mean, can you think of any that are more
Oh
personal to
man.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. I got a couple. Reagan from The
Reagan.
Exorcist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, that was a classic one that I grew up watching the first film and everything. Sucks. I really wanted to meet Lynn Blair on that one.
Yeah,
Um,
she was really nice too.
yeah. Bub.
Bub, yeah.
Bub the zombie.
Talk
You
about
know,
well, you've already touched upon Tarman. Bub's another iconic zombie.
I would think that Bub is your zombie. I think because you've even said that out of all the zombies, I think you've said that you like him the most.
Um, yeah, Bub's cool. I'm big on Flyboy. I love the Flyboy zombie from Dawn of the Dead. I think he's fantastic. I love his
Mm,
walk. I love just the way he portrayed it. I think he did fantastic. Doctor Tongue is another one. He only had
yeah.
a minute of screen time in the opening credits of Day of the Dead, but still that little minute of screen time turned him into a icon where he has toys, he has images, and memorabilia and stuff like that. So he's so cool with his jaw is just completely missing and the tongue's just slipping out. It's just really cool looking. Um,
Yeah.
but those are the three when I think of and of course, I think of Fulci's conquistador. I think he's a conquistador zombie, the one that comes out of the ground with the worms in his eye, the iconic
Mhm.
poster. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another one I think of when it comes to iconic zombies. And um, yeah, there's a lot of iconic zombies, man. There really is. There's a
Yeah.
ton.
I think
Um,
almost everyone tried one upping each other throughout the
yeah,
years.
yeah, most definitely. I
Yeah.
could definitely I definitely get that impression. Of course, the little creatures. Another movie I saw when I was younger was Gremlins, and
Oh yeah.
Gremlins. That's another movie that when I was really little scared me because I remember the gremlin dragging the guy that was doing experiments on him underneath the table, and that scene scared the shit out of me for some reason. I don't understand why, but I remember that scene in particular. But those guys, I mean, the creature design on Gremlins were fucking awesome, incredible. So I got to throw those guys out there. I love the critters. I love the Krites. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I was a big Critters fan too. I loved the second one. I always watched the second one with the giant ass critter ball, and it just ran that dude over when they were running from it, and it just he was basically just completely eaten up, like his back was missing. It was like everything was exposed. It was just so funny, so comical. But that movie was fantastic. I always loved Critters too, and Ghoulies 2. Critters 2 and Ghoulies 2 were both really great. Really,
Yeah.
really great sequels. They were really fun. Ghoulies 2 was really fun when it took place in that carnival.
Yeah.
And each one of the Ghoulies are really, well, that's another thing you think of like an iconic scene. You think of the Ghoulie coming out of the toilet. And it's something
Yeah.
that pops up. And I've seen that on, stickers and pins and patches and all kinds of like t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I've seen that image everywhere.
Well, maybe that's what we can do another episode on is iconic scenes.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were going to talk about, or you were going to mention, like, do a little creature feature episode. I was
That
like,
would be
hell yeah,
cool.
I'd be down for that, man. You talk about critters and ghoulies and gremlins, and I'm all down for that.
Small creature features.
Yeah,
I'm game.
hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Uh,
Whoa, dude, I forgot. I completely forgot. I got to throw Sam out there. Sam's a icon now.
he is. Yeah, I
Trick or
agree.
treat. I see a
Yeah.
lot of Sam stuff. Matter of fact, I go to, when I was going to GameStop and stuff, I saw a lot of Sam stuff up there. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
You don't think, you're gonna see all the Sam merchandise up there, but yeah, there was a ton of it up there. So I know if it's a GameStop, it's pretty mainstream at this point.
Yeah.
But his look is awesome too, with the sucker, the sack head, the pajamas. He just
I
looks
almost
Halloween.
wish I almost wish there was a standalone for him too.
Yeah, me too.
You know, kind of like how they did with Hardy.
Yeah.
I think that
Well,
would
I,
be
I know
cool.
Trick or Treat 2 is going to be one of these days. It's going to come out. I just hope it's soon because I really want to see that.
Well, they dragged their feet on making the first film, or at least producing the first film. I know you heard like all this hype about how it was coming out and how it was going to be a really good movie, and then I think I was working at Movie Gallery actually at the time, and it was just not there. I had
Damn.
so many people coming in asking for it, and then we didn't have it. I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about that film. And then just randomly one day we got it in. It was like, oh, well, there it is.
There it is. It has arrived.
Way late, but it did.
Way late. We touched up on some big ones, bud. I mean, we extensively we've hit some heavy hitters. I'm so glad you brought up Carrie White though. That was a good one on your part, man. That was awesome. Carrie
Yeah,
White is definitely like that. That was cool.
yeah, yeah. That's like I said, that was a kind of an icon for me. And again, you just feel bad. You feel bad for her story because she just wants to be normal. That's all it is.
Yeah,
She
that's
wants to
it.
fit in,
Mhm.
and these kids, they they preyed upon her weakness.
Hey, exactly. Another tragic story, man, with her home life and then how she was bullied in school. It's like, man, you know.
Yeah.
But it feels vindicated at the end when she gets her revenge, and it's just like, oh man, you feel like you feel vindicated at that point.
Hmm.
So cool. Oh man, I'm probably gonna watch Carrie this weekend. I'm gonna pop that and watch it. It's been too long.
Yeah. I might need to
Such,
revisit it as well.
such a good movie, and I'm so jealous you got that beautiful Blu-ray signed, and it's all with the I don't know. It looks really cool, man.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's the
big
that's
on.
the funny thing. So funny story. When I ordered it, because I was like, oh man, because I wanted to get PJ Souls to sign something that she normally wouldn't sign, and then God, what's his name? William Katz, I think that's
Yeah.
his name.
Yep.
Um, he was going to be there, and I was like, oh shit, I've got to get Carrie. You know, I didn't have it in the collection, and I think I did have it in the collection, but I had the DVD, and the DVD had like a black case on it, and I didn't want that. I wanted a Blu-ray signed. So when I got it, I actually ordered literally had the same cover art as my DVD, but I was like, screw it. That's the only one that I can seem to find. And then that one came in with a white case, and I was like, ah, it's so cool. So it's not even the one I ordered, but it worked because it looks really cool. I'm looking at it right now. It's a really good case.
Yeah. The signatures really pop on it with that white case.
Yeah.
Really, really stands out. It's really
That's
good.
another thing. You were talking about like meeting celebrities and stuff. When I met William Katz, I really didn't have like really high expectations there because I didn't know anything else that he really worked on. And we barely talked about his career at all. He was more interested in sitting down with me and talking with me. And he was like, so what do you do for a living? And I told him, and then he was like, I told him what company I work for and everything. And he was like, oh man, I've actually heard of you guys. And like, we hit it off and we were just talking like two normal people. And it was really cool.
Yeah, he was really cool. He'd be a good guy to sit down at the bar and have a beer with,
Yeah.
just chit chat and bullshit a little bit. He's
Yeah.
really another guy that's really personable. Because I remember him talking to my boys when we were in the elevator,
Mm.
and he was just I think my oldest had a stuffed animal or something. He was asking about a stuffed animal, just being real cool and just being a real sweet person, and
Yeah.
just having a conversation with my kids. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, I met him and got house signed by him and stuff like that, and had a good conversation as well. So he was a highlight of that. He was one of the highlights of that convention, man. He was really nice.
Yeah.
That was a good convention too because there was a lot of good moments there. Got to meet got to meet Felissa Rose.
Mm. Was
Got,
no, I don't think that was that convention.
it wasn't that convention. I thought it was because she
That
was
was
in the
that
back.
was
She was in the back.
no, that
Like
was
she was.
the George Romero.
Yeah, I could have sworn she was. Oh, I might be thinking of. Yeah, my Mad Monsters run all together sometimes. There's been a lot of them, so
That was the one with George Romero and I think we even met Dee Wallace in at that one.
yeah, I met D Wallace at that one. Yeah, that wasn't
Actually,
when
that
we got
was
our sleepaway box set signed.
no, that was the last one we went to. Because
Oh,
I met Kane Hodder at the same one, and then Phil
uh,
Ozamo from Pantera.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, I got you. I'm getting delusional, man. That's all it is. Shit's running together.
Yeah, it's all good. At least you can remember the stories. That's what counts.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember the stories now.
Okay, so when I met PJ Souls and got her to sign that, I honestly don't remember talking with her. You know what I do remember about that whole situation? Besides taking a picture with her and everything, what
Mhm.
I do remember is getting interrupted so badly by Tony Moran's loud ass mouth.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he was at the table right beside hers.
Yeah,
So you're good.
you couldn't miss that.
Yeah, that dude was loud.
He was. He's just like
He had,
hooping and hollering for no reason.
he had a booming voice. I think he might have been a couple drinks in at that point.
Couple,
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, just a couple. He was sitting back sipping a little bit, so he was feeling really loose. Let's just say that.
It was rough.
But I just get that impression that he's probably kind of like that in his personal life too. Just like a louder, bombastic kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, the booze doesn't help.
Mm.
It makes the volume raise a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I remember he was. I could hear him. You could probably hear him clear across the convention center.
Yeah, he was quite loud. And I think he even like walked up and like interrupted us and talked and is like, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks." Oh man. I'm ready for another convention. I want to go again.
Oh man, you have no idea how bad I got the convention bug, man. Oh man, I wanted to do days this year. I really wanted to do days this year because our last one was so fun. They put on a really good convention.
Yeah. I think
Well,
if I'm not, don't quote me on it, but I think Joe Mo has his hands in days now
that's cool.
because I know
I'm
he
telling
posts a
you,
lot of stuff about days and not so much about Mad Monster anymore.
yeah, it was run very well last time I went. It was not chaotic. People were, well informed of where people were, where the vendors were. Um, Nobody was confused about the layout, and it wasn't overcrowded. I mean, there was a crowd, but they kind of kept it thinned out and it wasn't bunched together, and they were doing a
Yeah.
good job of just policing the whole convention floor. So, kudos to them, man, for putting on a uh, a good organized convention.
Yeah.
And I
I've,
remember it was like 2 years ago I went.
yeah. I've heard that several times that they're really organized and really well put together.
So it's amazing how organized they were. I thought it was going to be really chaotic, especially I think that was, if not the first year, then the second year that they did it. So it was very new, and
Yeah.
they had it very organized. So I'm like, kudos to them. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Because even a couple Mad Monsters in, we were still a little disorganized.
Yeah.
Monsters been around for a minute, so
Yeah.
but they're not
We just need
bad
to
either.
go up. We need to go up to Ohio one good year. Cinema Wasteland.
General Wasteland, yeah. I want to do Texas Frightmare, man. They
Yeah.
have a they have amazing guests there. They
Like
always book fantastic guests
Dario
there.
Argento.
Yeah, man, Dario.
When when does
That's
that ever happen?
Right. Can you imagine, dude? I'm telling if he's at a Carolina convention, I would be all for going just to get his signature alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to meet, and of course, the one I always want to meet that he never does like an East Coast convention. He's always doing the West Coast ones. Is Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, that's another one I want to meet.
Yeah, it seems like he never ventures to the East Coast. He's always staying on the West Coast. So, like the Midwest, he doesn't really
I,
gravitate toward the East Coast too much.
I gotta get Abominable signed by him. And I need to get Lance Hendrickson to sign that as well for me.
Yeah, I'll never forget that Lance Henderson bumping into me on the.
You mean dry hump you?
Yeah, he put his manhood on me.
uh,
He was so nice. He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, young man. I apologize." I was like, "Oh, no problem." Because I didn't realize who it was. Then I did a double take. I'm like, "Holy shit!" Lance Hendrickson just bumped into me. Wow, did not see. I didn't expect him to be in the crowd. I don't know why he was in the crowd. It's weird.
yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what was happening.
I remember that one year Sid Haig was in the crowd. We were just walking into the convention and he was right there. But
Yeah.
I,
R.I.P. Sid.
one of the things that's one of the things that I like about being at the conventions and everything, especially like at the hotels and stuff, because the celebrities will get in the elevators with you. It's really cool. And you
Yeah,
get to
man.
talk to them.
I'm telling you, the best one that we did was when we were at the hotel and we had rooms and we went up, dropped our stuff off, went back down. We did it like in increments. Like we would go down, we'd pick up a couple things, go to the rooms, drop some stuff off, come back with an empty bag, go back to the convention, pick up more stuff, and we just keep doing that and doing that and doing that over and over and over again. That was the most, dude. I had so much fun doing that.
Oh yeah.
That was a blast, man.
Didn't
I'm
have to
with
walk
you.
around with 20 pounds of shit on your back.
Yeah, right. That it wasn't. You didn't have to like drive back to the hotel, and you just go straight up the elevator, go to your room, drop it off. It's real simple. I would
Uh,
just love to book another hotel like that.
yeah, I I miss that. I miss the atmosphere too, honestly.
What it is, man, just being around like-minded people.
Oh yeah,
Yep. Just your kind of people, man. It's all around. You get into
definitely,
good
definitely.
conversations. You have good conversations in line with people. Like they'll
Hmm.
ask you, what are you getting signed, or what are you here for, or this and that. You just get on a conversation.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep.
I definitely enjoy going to the convention. Yeah, like you said, it's honestly just waiting in line and talking with people and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Get to
Yeah.
find out where people are from. They could be local. They could be right around your area, and like, hey, maybe we can, you know, we got the same kind of interest in whatnot. Let's meet up or something and watch some movies or something, drink and hang out, and
Hmm.
you know, you want to do that because you want to find people that are like minded that like the same kind of shit you do. Because I mean, it's not too many. I mean, there's more than you would think, but there's not. Being a horror fan is just they're not a dime a dozen. I mean, they're few and far between. So you find the people, especially when they're close to you, like, oh, that's cool. Like, have kindred spirits out there that are around
Hmm.
on the, not on the just the West Coast or up in the big cities or something like that. No, they're local. They're around, man. That's the one thing that's good about social media is it can bring like-minded people together.
Yeah,
I mean, people use it for their agenda and whatnot, and it's bad. But that's the one thing about it that I really enjoy is meeting these people in these groups and forming these friendships and talking movies, and it's fun. It really is.
def- definitely,
So
definitely.
damn it, COVID, go fuck off so we can have a convention. Sick and tired of your shit.
Yeah. Well, man, think we hit on everything.
I think so, man. You ready to land this plane, as Frosty always says?
Let's land it. All right, folks. Well, this has been another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. Like always, you can like, share, subscribe, and generate a conversation. Tell us what your favorite icons are, um, and what's your least favorite icons. And leave a comment down below. We would like to read those and get back with you. If you don't want to do it there, head on over to the Facebook group where you can ask to join if you're not a member. We will let you in, and just generate a conversation. We like to talk to like-minded people about the genre and everything. So hit us up, man, and keep us going. And like always, just like I said, just like, share, subscribe, keep us going. Tony, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, man, that was perfect. Absolutely. Like, share, subscribe, join the Facebook group, generate some discussions on there. I mean, if you guys have any, recommendations for a show, just drop it on there. We'll look into it, see if we can do it. Because we're always looking for, new ideas and stuff like that. So, got anything, please, by all means, drop it on the line and look into it and see if we can do it.
Definitely. All right. With that, later, guys.
Later.